This week we're going to continue our examination of the economic forces that lie behind Porter's five forces model. As you can see from the parts that I've highlighted in red here, this week we're going to be looking at the threat posed by suppliers to our firm and the threat posed by buyers. We're looking at them together because there's a kind of symmetry going on here. If we think about the bargaining power of suppliers and the threat that might pose to the firm is a buyer in that situation, and we're considering issues of supplier power, and we're thinking about how the firm might increase its power as a buyer. When we look at the other side here, we're essentially thinking about the same ideas. Here, however, we're thinking of the firm as a supplier, and it's concerned about the power of buyers. So we can think about the factors that would increase the bargaining power of buyers and what the firm might do to increase its power as a supplier. So you can see that the buyer-supplier story is being told in either case. So what I'm going to do is examine the bargaining power of suppliers in some detail, and then quickly apply that to the bargaining power of buyers, where, as I say, we've already seen most of the ideas. So let's just summarize the nature of the threat here. Let's consider this table. If we think about the threat that suppliers pose, if their power increases, then they have the power to raise the costs of the things that we buy from them, to raise our input costs. They may also, instead of raising the price of what they sell to us, they may sell lower quality goods to us, and in that way increase their profits. Of course, both of those things could end up reducing our profits. Obviously, if our costs go up, our profits go down. If we have to reduce the quality of our product because we buy lower quality inputs, then that might reduce demand, might reduce the price we can charge. If we think of things on the buyer's side, if the buyers that we're trying to sell to have increased power in the marketplace, if they have increased bargaining power, they may be able to force down the prices of our product or our service. They may be also in a position to demand a product of better quality, and presumably that would cost more to produce. So one way or the other, increased buyers' power is going to reduce profits. So as I said a moment ago, we're going to start by examining the bargaining power of suppliers. And specifically, we want to think about the effects on costs and profits. And then, of course, we want to think about whether there's anything we can do about that as a buyer to either lessen the supplier's bargaining power or to increase our power as a buyer. I'm going to show you this picture because I want you just to think for a moment what things are going to look like, say maybe 5 minutes from now. You probably haven't seen the movie. I haven't myself, but there's 25 guys against one, and I think you know already that the people who write scripts for these movies are going to have our hero here, this fellow with the two big sticks, is going to win against this larger number. So why am I showing you this crazy picture? Well, it turns out that there's kind of a parallel here between market interactions and this situation here. In the movie, kind of paradoxically, this one person is stronger than the 25 that are arrayed against him. It turns out that in market situations, something similar happens. One firm facing many different firms actually has an advantage. Suppose, for example, that this fellow, suppose that they didn't look so aggressive and that there wasn't going to be a fight, that this was just a boring movie. Suppose he was going to sell his two nice sticks here, and these 25 gentlemen would be bidding against each other to buy his nice sticks. Well, you can see that he would be in a good position to get a good price, because these 25 people would be bidding against each other in order to buy these sticks. So they'd be competing against each other. In exactly the same way, let's say that a buyer faced with 25 possible suppliers could get those suppliers to compete against each other, in this case to offer a low price. So let me summarize a central idea that we're going to see throughout this. If there's just one buyer and many sellers, as in the sort of paralleling the example that I just gave you, but kind of the other way around, then the buyer would have maximum bargaining power. If there's one seller and many buyers, then it's the seller who has the maximum bargaining power. And those buyers are going to bid against each other, as in the story that I just told. So if I want to summarize the general rule, for the most part, we can say that the side of the market, whether it's buyers or sellers, that has relatively smaller numbers of people or firms acting on that side of the market, that side has greater bargaining power or greater market power. That is, greater ability to influence the price. Now, of course, your text quite rightly notes that all buying and selling, all transactions are voluntary. So both the buyers and the sellers must be getting something out of it. The issue is how those benefits are going to be divided up between the buyers and the sellers. So my general claim is that bargaining or market power depends on the relative numbers of buyers and sellers or suppliers in their respective markets. And the number of players, the number of buyers and sellers on each side of the market is a key feature of what we call market structures. So up to this point in the course, we've looked at the monopolistically competitive market structure, but there's other market structures that we need to think about as well. So let's have a look at them.